Welcome to Rock and Roll High School, your choice for in-depth and personal conversations with the most legendary artists in the history of contemporary music. Come with us as we explore the albums and songs that have become the soundtrack of our lives. Here's your host, Pete Ganbarg.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rock and Roll High School. Our guest this week is Everlast, an artist who is truly one of one, and whose career has taken him from the front lines of hip-hop to the crossroads of rock, blues, and deeply personal storytelling. He first broke through as part of House of Pain, delivering one of the most iconic anthems of the 90s with Jump Around. But what's made his journey so compelling is everything that's come after. Reinventing himself as a solo artist, Everlast found a completely new voice with Whitey Ford Sings the Blues, blending acoustic grit, blues tradition, and hip-hop sensibility into something entirely his own. Songs like What It's Like didn't just cross formats. They connected, telling stories that felt raw, real, and lived in. But behind the music is a life that's been anything but easy. From a near-fatal heart episode that changed his perspective forever, to navigating family, fatherhood, and personal loss. All of it has found its way into his work, giving it a weight and honesty that few artists can match. Now he's entering a new chapter with his latest album, Embers and Ashes, a project that reflects on everything he's been through and everything he's still pushing toward. In this conversation, Everlast opens up about evolution, survival, and what it really means to stay true to yourself in a world that's constantly changing.
So he's from business school and is nervous with the tools, so he ends up on his back in a bloody pool for the ends. Some people were robbed their mother for the ends. Rats snitch on one another for the ends. Sometimes kids get murdered for the ends. So before we go any further, I want my end.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Rock and Roll High School. Very happy to be welcoming our guest today, Everlast. Hey, man.
How you doing, man?
I'm great. We were just talking before we went live that you and our paths have crossed a little bit in the past. When I was working with Santana Supernatural, that was you on the Grammy Award-winning Put Your Lights On, and then we did it a couple of years later with Run DMC on a great cover of Steve Miller's Take the Money and Run. But I don't know if you and I have ever officially met. So glad to be meeting all these years later, man. I love your new album. One thing I love about your new album is that the release date is August 28th. That's my birthday. So good luck, man. That's a good luck charm. Your new album, Embers and Ashes, is out August 28th on 30 Tigers in partnership with your management team, Regime, and produced by the great Yellow Wolf, and it's a great record. I just got an advance of it. It's a fantastic record, and anyone who appreciates Everlast music, especially from the Whitey Ford era, will love this record. 17 songs, really great. I got to tell you, before we even booked you to be on the podcast, and I heard Stones, probably, one of the best songs I've heard this year. So good, man. Great songwriting, great production.
Thank you, man. This is the first album I actually co-wrote top line stuff with some other guys. Yellow Wolf had a couple of dudes in mind that actually kind of grew up on Whitey Ford and stuff.
Wow. I didn't get the credits for the record. Who were some of the guys you co-wrote with?
David Ray Stevens.
Okay. Did he write on Stones?
He wrote on Stones. He wrote on a lot of records. Maybe I came to the album with probably 6 to 8 of my own songs ready, done to record, and probably maybe 3 of them made the album. That's funny. Wolf had a pretty good idea of what he wanted to do, and I went into the process letting him know, I really want someone to steer the ship. I don't even want a co-pilot.
Wow.
I write, I want to perform, but I don't want to think about any of the technical or any of the structure. Let's just, and we went in and basically, with few musicians and a couple of guys, D-Ray and another cat named Chief. We just banged out 17, or probably 15 of those 17 songs.
Wow.
In 2 weeks. And then I came back and we all did it all in Nashville. Instead of the home studio, we went Berry Hill and got a real studio. And
nice.
put ourselves on the clock and acted like we were making real records.
Great. Why not, man? It's a really, really good record. Your voice, has always had this grit and rasp to it. But now that you're a bit older, it almost felt on a couple of songs that I heard on the album, almost like Dr. John, which is so cool,
That's high. That's high.
That's high praise, man. The Night Tripper, Again, this song Stones, if you haven't heard it, to the audience who's listening, the lyrics in the chorus, I know you're sick of me, I'm sick of me too. There ain't a stone you can throw at me, I ain't already through. I've never heard that concept. It's brilliant.
Yeah. That again, like some of these guys like D-Ray approached me with ideas and they were spoken in a language that I was like, that sounds like I wrote it, or that idea sounds like an idea I would have come up with. So it's pretty seamless, our working. That's why I got to bring it up, because maybe, people are going to, they need to know, like, a couple of really talented cats came in and we did this sharpening steel kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's great.
You kind of had to be like, all right, well, if you're going to throw a line out, it's got to be a good line.
Right, 100%. And sometimes fresh blood helps the creative process for sure.
It definitely did.
So you're like 35 years into this now. And what's fascinating to me is I can't think of any other artist with quite the same career arc that you've had. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, how it started and where it is now. When you look back on everything, do you pinch yourself, or do you like, man, what the hell?
I don't know. It's, it's kind of one of those, like, I'm still living in it. When I look at Jump Around, that's pretty bizarre. That's like you're part of something. It's like when you're growing up, there were certain songs you heard that were like, they belong to everyone and everything, like a Louie Louie, or
right.
To have written and be part of a song like that is pretty wild. We knew when we made that record that we made a hot rap record.
Yeah, and like you said, that has become this generation's Louie Louie, or You Make Me Want to Shout. It's like a song that is just part of the world. You don't own that song anymore. It's owned by the universe, I also love the fact that in terms of ownership, I've heard you say that on the Santana record, the song that you wrote, Put Your Lights On, you wrote 100%. And when you have 100% of a song publishing-wise on an album that sells 25 million, that's
like platinum album, man.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. We'll take that. So in the beginning, everyone thinks of you as an LA guy, but you were actually born in Long Island, right?
Was, but by the time I think I was 5, 6 years old, I was in California.
When you went to high school, you went to Taft, right? And Taft is famous for having all of these like famous, actors and actresses and musicians go to Taft.
One of the high schools I went to quite a few high schools in the valley out here. I got caught writing graffiti or getting in trouble. Once you're in trouble once, it only takes one to get kicked out of that next school. So I think I spent the second most time there, though. From
you left high school because you connected with Ice-T and you joined Rhyme Syndicate, right?
Yeah, at the encouragement of my homeroom teacher. I've never been able to locate her. God bless her. She was pretty young back then. Her name was Miss Hackett. And I had a dilemma where I had made this record for Ice-T, and they wanted me to go on their European tour and open up the tour. And it was my senior year. You know what I mean? I was about, it was like basically I was saying like, fuck high school, but it was like I had a coasting ass year. I was like, I'm going to graduate. And I've been, you've been told all your life, that's what it's all about. You got to get that diploma and all that. So I was really struggling. My parents were not buying it. Rap was not a big thing. They were not buying into they're like, you leave high school, get a place.
They kicked you out of your house, right?
Yeah. So it was this teacher that just basically said, well, I'd go. She's
wow.
like, always come back next year and finish high school.
Wow.
That one sentence kind of was like, oh, wow. I can't come back, right?
Thank you, Miss Hackett, wherever you are.
The crazy part is I had dreams for years. Guilt dreams. Like even after I was having major successes, I'd wake up from dreams of like, I'm the 25-year-old guy still trying to graduate high school. It took me a little bit of therapy to get over that bullshit.
That's crazy. But that was the era that you started meeting everybody, right? You met Divine Styler, you met obviously Ice-T, the other Rhyme Syndicate guys, you had Lord Finesse, you had Bronx Style Bob. Like all those guys are part of this back when you're still a teenager, right?
Yeah, I was one of the youngest cats probably. I think I was 16. when I first like linked up with all those. I mean, I know I was 16 when I met Divine, so it's probably about 17 when they brought me in. They were already dealing with Ice on certain levels of like making demos and stuff. Divine Styler to me is like John Coltrane. Like, you know, I mean, he was like that dude. I mean, wordplay. Like people just, I mean, a lot of people dipped in his sauce and really made their styles happen.
Yeah, he played a big part in your life. And, you know, obviously House of Pain, the Jump Around sample is from Divine Styler's own sample of Junior Walker, you know, so it's like everybody is paying each other forward.
Those kind of things are like kismet, you know what I mean? The fact I just even first rapped is because like, I was making graffiti writing with these guys, you know, and as I was more enamored, he was also a brilliant artist, visual style of
right.
graffiti. And that's really why we first connected on was art. As we were doing that, they were actually rapping and all this stuff. And then I'd just do shit to make fun of like your mom or something, but I'd do it in rhyming form because that's what all the shit was they were doing.
Right.
But he was the guy who actually told me one day, like, hey man, you should give it a try. You could actually rap.
So you have a lot of angels in your life, Miss Hackett and Divine Styler, just to name two to start, right?
I mean, Put Your Lights On is you know, I know we'll probably get to that in a little while, but like, yeah, angels, there's an angel with a hand in my head. You know,
literally, that's the lyric for the song, for sure.
I live my entire life by like the signs on the road. I don't make decisions in the normal way. I really feel like the world tells me how and what to do and when.
Right. I mean, Carlos Santana feels the same way, so you guys probably connected on that level too.
Yeah, you know, a lot of ways.
He's always said that he's got his antenna out, always.
You know, if you want to catch the signal.
Yeah, yep. And this is around the same time back then where you meet Muggs first, you meet Dante, like everybody is kind of like floating around that universe when you're still a teenager, and these guys would all become a big part of your life as you got older.
I didn't realize it. Yeah, my whole circle is still basically the same. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think you were like, what, 17, 18?
35, almost 30, whatever years later. That's pretty good.
Not only did you leave high school, but you also got thrown out of Warner Brothers Records. And I've heard you say the direct quote, I flipped the fuck out on Benny Medina, which I love.
I was young and found it like there was some shady money shit they did. They paid like some crazy remix dude. Like I knew what deal I had signed, right? And I knew how much money I had gotten. So I was doing my math based on that, right? And that was including knowing that Rhyme Syndicate got money. More than I did, honestly. But by no means did I think they owed me a lot of money. But by my math, they owed me a little money, you know, which was back then, it was like 20 grand. I was 18 years old. You know what I mean? I didn't have no job. I had rent. You know what I mean? So I went, you know, trying to figure out how I was going to collect this money, and then got told that there was like this remix done by some Shep Pettibone character.
You don't hear that name every day anymore.
But it was like 150 grand they paid this guy. This is 1989.
Right.
All right. That'd be like $1 million now.
Yeah.
You know?
Shep Pettibone was doing all those Madonna mixes back then.
So once I found that out, I flipped out. And for weeks, I couldn't get a meeting with anybody. So I just kind of went up in the building. But birthed House of Pain. It birthed a lot of things.
Right.
But because of that meeting, I couldn't send the Everlast demo anywhere.
Right, because Benny kind of blackballed you, right?
Hey, that fucker, fuck him. Don't anybody that fucks with him, fuck you.
Right. That's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air right there. Man.
You know what I mean? It was right that moment.
Right. At what point do you meet Danny and Lethal?
Lethal was my DJ during the Rhyme Syndicate days. He was introduced to me through a female rapper named Terry B that I actually dated for a while. He could beatbox. He couldn't DJ to save his life when I met him.
That's funny.
Beatbox like a crazy man. And I just loved that whole energy. And he learned quick how to DJ. Danny I knew since like Taft. That's why I met.
Right.
I think we connected again when we both were working at a place called Pace Membership Warehouse. This was like a Costco kind of.
That's crazy. And what point do you go over to his house and you see the Island of Dr. Moreau inspired band name?
It was a series of steps. Island Dr. Moreau I saw when I was really young, like that. But it was like one of them things. That and Apocalypse Now kind of fucked me up a little bit. I don't know. One day I was just hanging out at his house, and there was he had a whole rack of 100 whatever cassette tapes, and I saw one thing that said House of Pain, and we had been, I was like, well, what the fuck is that? And he was like, oh, that's just some dumb punk band I made, and I was like, that name's dope. Name's crazy. And then he told me he got the name from the Oingo Boingo song No Spilled Blood.
Oh, funny.
Which I was a big fan of Oingo Boingo myself, and I know what that song's about. And I was like, that's crazy. That's like my favorite movie. And
right. In the Island of Dr. Moreau, that's where they send you if you don't do right, that you go to the House of Pain.
Is where everybody is. The House of Pain is where you go if you fuck up and break the law.
Right. Good band name.
I like the name. The original version of the band was going to be live.
Right. Everlast and the House of Pain, right?
Yeah. And it was going to be like a live band, not metal necessarily, but rock influenced, like rap, that really didn't kind of exist yet, except for like the Public Enemy Anthrax kind of combo, that but I didn't want to be metal necessarily, but I wanted to blend some styles. And
right.
And I had met Muggs during the Syndicate days, but we had reacquainted. Lethal and him were both dating chicks, and they were roommates, and we all went to like some reggae fest together.
Wasn't it Be Real who told Muggs you should fuck with this guy?
Yeah, that was the day. We all went to this reggae fest. I met Be Real. We went back to these two chicks' apartment, and they played me the first Cypress album, and it was like at least 6 months, 8 months before it came out, and I lost my mind. I fell in love with hip hop that day,
right?
And me and Be Real, I wound up just like rhyming for I don't know, probably an hour or two, and I guess on the way home, Be Real was like talking like, what's up with that dude, and Muggs was like, I don't know, but we got so much on our plate. And Be Real was just like, yo, you should fuck with that guy.
And you guys are all still, I can't stress this enough, you guys are all still friends, right?
Most of us are daily friends. So.
Because Be Real is Dr. Green Thumbs, and you are the creative director of Dr. Green Thumbs Food, I believe.
Yeah, little side.
I love that. At what point did the three of you guys start making music together?
Well, I mean, technically, I guess that first day we were making music, freestyling, me and B, but it wasn't very long after that. Muggs gave me a call, and, I went out to it was his aunt's house, and he had like a side house on it in Bell Gardens. And I think the first day we made Jump Around, Come and Get Some of This, and I think Put Your Head Out.
Wow.
Be Real pulled up, and so the first 3 songs, that was our demo.
This is the House of Pain. To come inside is insane. I'll put your head out. I'll put your head out. Jump off the spread out. I'll put your head out. I'll put your head out. Put your head out. Jump off the spread out. I'll put your head out. What up, punk? I'll put your head out.
Whose concept was leaning into the Irish?
It already kind of had that vibe. It had the Irish colors. And then because Danny and I had that in common, we just kind of decided, like, I think a Public Enemy show, and I've told this to Chuck before, had a lot to do with it when, like, Griff went on a rant at UCLA, like, about, like, it was, like, really, like, disheartening because it was a room full of white folks, and he was giving it to them, like, for being their fans.
That's funny.
Kind of weird. We were just like, well, let's just represent what we think we represent, and like being New York based cats, all my mom and my dad are Irish. So he's Danny Boy O'Connor. It just
right. Makes sense.
We would drink Mickey's every day. Now it all became that became the logo basically,
Right. And Danny was the one who came up with the logo, the visuals, right?
Yeah. Danny was always anything visual. He was the leader of that part.
And even though Lethal's from Latvia, it's close enough, right?
He's honorary.
He's honorary. Awesome. So Jump Around, at what point do you do the deal with Tommy Boy? And we got to talk about Joe the Butcher real briefly because that's on the actual record. But were you guys shopping the tape around and Rough House wanted to sign you? Or was he just like, oh, I'll take Jump Around and I'll give it to Criss Cross concept?
No, Joe was the first one to hear it. There's no doubt about it. Muggs was dealing with him, and Muggs actually was, really dug dude at first until that happened.
Right.
I mean, and I still to this day don't blame any of those. I don't think those kids even knew they were stealing anything. There was already a record that I know cats are like Jermaine likes to dispute it, but it's like there's no doubt we gave that dude that record first.
Right.
I think he stole the record from me.
Right. It didn't matter because both of them became hits.
A freaking idea from me in one of the verses. I loved Shabba Ranks, so I had like 2 lines where I said, "Jump around if you love freedom, jump around if you love culture." And he said, "Hold up." They had just come off a tour with like Leaders of the New School, and Leaders of the New School in between some of their songs would get all the people to jump.
Right.
Just by jump. He was like, "Don't do that." Said jump around, or we came up with the jump up, get down.
Who said that? Mugg said that?
He said, because I said jump around if you love freedom. So he's like, jump around that twice, then we'll jump up, get down. I came up with, the combination. Okay, let's do it. And then it was like, he just went into he's like, then we're going to go jump.
And did he have that sample day one?
The way I understand it, the main loop of the sample, he had for a while. Be Real didn't like it. I think Ice Cube got a crack at it. I think a few people got sent the track. Everything doesn't connect with everybody. You know what I mean?
100%.
Honestly, until the end, and the Divine Styler record comes into play. That was when we all knew, like, oh shit. It must have been like when they made Rebel Without a Pause and that fucking Maceo for, I think it's
from James Brown,
and it just like was like, oh my God, that's it.
Yep.
It's just sometimes that shit happens. Be Real and Ice Cube and all those guys, they didn't hear Jump Around done and say like, nah, I ain't fucking with it. You know what I mean? They saw like a baby seed of it that got built into something. Once I was like, yeah, I like that. Let's fuck with it.
Pack it in, let me begin. I came to win, battle me, that's a sin. I came to get down, so get out your seat and jump around. Jump around. Jump around. Jump around. Jump up and get down. Jump, everybody jump.
Right, and I heard that Prince thought that you guys had bitten off Get Off, but it's actually Divine Styler and Junior Walker, right?
That you'd have to ask Muggs. But
So that's what it sounds like from sleuthing. But anyway, song comes out, fucking rocket ship, and all of a sudden House of Pain has Louie for the new generation, and you guys go all over the world and multi-platinum big hit records.
We just made rap records, you know?
Speaking of rap records, when Pete Rock did his remix, that gave, some New York City credibility to the record too.
I don't think it needed New York City credibility.
Hip-hop credibility.
I ever heard it in public was in New York, and it wasn't having any trouble.
Right. Pete Rock's remix is pretty good.
To that extent, it gave it a new life. Yeah, I mean, I remember going up into the studio when he was making it because I wanted to meet him, and he played me the remix. I was like, "This is great." And I'm waiting for him to rap, and he didn't. He didn't rap on it at first. And I had to kind of talk him into it. Like, nah, dude, you need to rap on that. That's part of why I wanted you to remix the record. I wanted Rock rap on it. So I'm glad I did stop by.
Listen to the sound that pounds, I jump around. I'm no clown, I get down to the funk. Listen to the wig out and step to the rear, dear, cause I'm here. The P to the E to the T-E rockin', the runs in your stocking, so hun puts a lock in. Chillin' with the House of Pain, blood stains the ground, I jump around.
Yeah, his verse is great. Blood on the Floor. At what point does House of Pain kind of run its course? I'm curious of the evolution from House of Pain to your solo career.
I think, the third album was actually going to be something else. That's why Divine Styler and my friend Cockney O'Dyer were so heavily involved. And whatever rift was going on at the time, we were able to patch it up and be like, all right, let's try and make it work, kind of thing. And I think there's a couple songs on there we put together last minute and made it feel more like a House of Pain record. And for me personally, I'm going to say once I really was feeling like the only reason I was showing up was for a check, it just lost its luster.
Got it. There's one thing I want to mention with House of Pain before we move on to the Whitey Ford era, which is the Butch Vig remix. Was that on the second album or the first album?
No, it's the first album.
And so that kind of becomes the precursor. Butch Vig, who obviously produced Nirvana, he remixes Shamrocks and Shenanigans.
Like Stephen King writes horror. If I was a Jew, then I'd like to menorah. I got rhymes for ya. Excuse me, senora. Are you a horror? Are you a lady? Is it Erica?
And this is the precursor to Judgment Night and the fusion of rock and hip hop, which you played a big part of, because the first song on the Judgment Night movie soundtrack in '93 was House of Pain and Helmet. And I've heard that a lot of it was your concept because you were in the movie as well.
If I were to get into detail about it, that's one of those classic, I fucked up kind of bad by not doing that shit right and just trusting certain people to do it. I was basically given the whole soundtrack to do by the director.
Right.
I feel like it was partially the reason I was brought on. You know what I mean? As given the part was because I was, popping and rapper at the moment and whatever. But I got to give a lot of that credit to Danny Boy because he was the sub pop punk rock guy. Loved all that stuff. He was early on everything. Anything I ever heard that was pop, punk rock ish or from any other region. He was the first cat that would played it for me. It
was Danny's idea to bring in Butch Vig, right?
Yes, for sure. There's no doubt about it to me. Do the whole sub pop little 7-inch vinyl. He was a collector. Danny, that's why he could do that merch and new logos, and because he was a fan and a collector of everything. So it was do it. I only wish I would have kept that shit.
Just another victim. Just another victim. Just another victim.
This combination of rock and hip hop was in your DNA because you guys not only are doing these remixes like that and then Judgment Night, but you also, when House of Pain is touring, you take Rage out on their first tour, you take Korn out on their first tour. You guys are really helping to birth this whole genre.
Yeah, everybody was terrified of Rage. I don't care what anybody says. They were terrified. I remember, and I went, it was the New Music Seminar. And I was going to check in on Ice. Body Count was playing. And they were opening. And I got there mad early and saw their set. And I left because I was like, oh, shit. Well, I had to process what I saw because, I was like, that was pretty powerful the first time you see it. And as I was walking back to my hotel, when my manager called me and we were doing our first headlining tour. But we didn't have an opener. And we needed an opener. I said, I just saw an amazing band. And I told them who it was. And they're like, oh, shit, they're in the middle of some crazy bidding wars. And they're going to be huge. I was like, well, he's like, everybody's scared to take them on tour, though. I was like, I ain't scared to take them on tour. Let's go. And it was a great tour. It was amazing to watch something happen like that because, our Jump Around was kind of everywhere we got. It was already there. I watched that tour within the span of whatever it was, month and a half, 30 to 50 days or whatever it was. Nobody know this band to the end. Every person in the building was singing fuck you, I won't do you what you tell me. I was like, oh my God, these guys are going to be huge.
Well, that's a testament to you for seeing it so early and giving them that exposure. So
they were on at the end of the set, and we do the Butch Vig.
Awesome. So let's pivot to Whitey Ford. And Dante tells you to get on a plane and come to New York because you're feeling low, right? And he's the one who brings you to New York. You're sleeping on his couch that 100 other rappers have slept on. And tell the story about how Dante, you're fucking around on an acoustic guitar and Dante runs out and like, what the hell was that?
All right, you just told it.
I don't tell it as well as you, man.
I kind of just was like, I'm done. House of Pain was like my second crack at like big time, and I did something with it, and then it was like I was like, well, who gets 3 chances? Who gets a So I was kind of like, all right, well, what am I gonna do with my life? Type shit. I basically just needed that. I needed something to get the fuck out of LA, go to New York. We were making a rap record. If you listen to Whitey Ford, it's half, if not 60%, rap songs. And I think there's even an original version that ends that's just a rap that I converted. So like we were making a rap record and I was sleeping on the couch and playing guitar one night. That's basically all it was. And I was playing this little chord progression I'd played for years and had a few lyrics too. And, he just stepped out of the bag and was like, what the hell is that? And I was like, I don't know. Something I fuck with sometimes when I'm bored. And he's like, all right, well, we're going to record it tomorrow.
Wow.
So we went and I had like half a song. So I've finished it up, or what I thought a song should sound like, I was like, oh, there's got to be some kind of change. So it's basically just the same 3 chords, It's most of my songs are 3 fucking chords, man.
Store begging for your change. The hair on his face is dirty, dreadlocked in for the main. And then you really might know what it's like. And then you really might know what it's like. And then you really might know what it's like.
When that song came out, it was so powerful. Everybody I know who heard it had to stop what they were doing and check it out. So, I've heard you say that Dante saved your life because he's the one that told you to fly from LA to New York, and that's how that all happened, right?
Well, there's, it depends on what you mean by save my life.
Well, literally, the other stimulated dummy saves your life. John Gamble saves your life, 100% literally. That we know. But talk about finishing the album and all of a sudden you were born with this aortic heart defect, and talk about what happens towards the end of making Whitey Ford.
Well, as far as going to New York and Dante had saved my life, Dante was just being my friend.
Right.
He was just like, get the fuck out of, he's like, get out of LA. He's like, come to fucking New York, crash here, and we'll make a record. And it was, we weren't even intended to make a full record together. He was like, I'll plug you with everybody in town, because he was an A&R guy too at the same time. He's running, he's a high level Electra A&R dude at this time still. As far as that all was the crazy story about my heart, because I didn't know much about it until I did Judgment Night, the movie we were just talking about, on the physicals beforehand. The doctor told me, hey, do you know you have a heart murmur? And I was like, nah, I don't know nothing about it. But I knew the interview I was getting with the doctor was for insurance, so you can be insured. Because
you were acting in the film, right?
Yeah. And I just kind of let him know, yo, you fucked this up for me, because it was a fat-ass check at the time, you know what I mean? I fucked this up, dude. It's going to be a problem for you. And the only reason I even say that, he signed me off right away. But that's the day I met Peter Green. God bless the dead. And he walked in behind me, and you could see he had been on a bender for a while and just said, I'm with him. What he said to me was later on, the doctor just listened to his heart, did this, signed his paper, and let him go.
Nice.
So
towards the end of making the album, that's when you're literally a song away from finishing, right? And you're in your house in LA and Gamble finds you because you collapse, right?
No, I don't collapse. I went to go to sleep. See, there's so many things to this, but I'm gonna say some of that anyways. All right, so yeah, Gamble finishes up some work. We record almost all of Whitey Ford in my house in Laurel Canyon. I went to bed, and I guess he didn't like what he was hearing. I guess when I was breathing, there was some gurgling or some kind of sound. He went to wake me up, couldn't wake me up. And he made a call. He made a call 911. And luckily, I lived within the first hospital next to me was Cedars-Sinai.
Right.
The next level of getting my life saved was after that movie, I went and found a doctor that told me what was really going on. I was born with this heart defect and all this stuff. His name was Dr. Robert Coblin.
He was on the board of Cedars, right?
He was on the board. Thank you. And because he was on the board, his computer records were all available. So as they're arguing with Dante and whoever else is in the emergency room about how much drugs I do because I'm a rock star.
And your tattoos everywhere, right?
Cigarettes. He smokes some weed. You know, he drinks a little. He doesn't. And they're like, well, if we give him the wrong drug, we could kill him. And then all of a sudden, everybody's tone changes because I guess that paperwork came through and they saw like, oh, this dude has this rare bicuspid aortic valve. Then from that moment on, it was serious business. The only thing I remember about the entire evening was being shook awake into consciousness so I could sign a paper that they could do.
Right. So that's crazy that all that happened. And then the first song that you wrote after your heart event was Put Your Lights On, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And the crazy thing is, you didn't have health insurance, right? Didn't you?
No.
That was a crazy story I heard you tell, where, you know, it's like one thing, health insurance, I need to save some money, so I'm going to cancel my health insurance. And then you have this crazy heart issue.
Yeah, I had gotten, essentially robbed by an accountant. Didn't pay my taxes one year. And once I found that out, you know, I just shut everything down, went into management mode of how to just recuperate it all. You know, it wasn't anything that wouldn't be fixed. It was just like, okay. So at that moment, I was just like, all right, health insurance, we don't need that right now. We don't need this right now. We don't need this. And I was selling my house in Laurel Canyon at the time because between taxes and I think the surgery, I was like almost $1 million in debt. And so I was like, all right, and that's Put Your Lights On, is me looking out on the city of Los Angeles from the top of Laurel Canyon. Sun's going down. The last night I slept in that house.
Hey now, all you sinners, put your lights on. Put your lights on. Hey now, all you lovers, put your lights on. Put your lights on. Hey now.
And you literally have a lyric about there's an angel, you know, and angels are all around you with this crazy life, which is like I said, it's unique. I have not spoken to anyone who I could compare this arc to. And that song, Put Your Lights On, ends up winning you a Grammy. You know, it's part of this big supernatural record that Santana had. He won all the Grammys, sold a lot of records. You're 100% writer on Put Your Lights On, so hooray for music publishing. All of that's happening at the same time. You know, all of a sudden you are getting this third bite at the apple.
Well, you know, you just ain't been seeing me eat the apple. That's all.
Right.
And I mean, I understand what you mean by that. And I think, you know, there's an interest I haven't seen in a while. Maybe, I don't know, but I like the record I made. Maybe that's just what I feel.
Yeah, no, 100%. We're going to get to that in 1 second. But there's also, you know, as we finish up, there's so much that we're not going to get to. You know, we're not going to get to La Coca Nostra. We're not going to get to war porn. We're not going to get to the Eminem beef, like all this stuff. So maybe you come back for a part 2 one of these days when you feel like talking more. But also, you know, you talk about your own medical history. Your family has had some medical history as well. How is everybody doing?
I mean, if you're speaking about my daughter, she's doing amazing.
Great. Your daughter was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis when she was a baby, right?
Yeah, but they've actually come a long way, and there's essentially a miracle drug. I don't like saying things like that, but called Trikafta, that's just basically made her life much better.
Excellent. So let's talk about Embers to Ashes as we finish up. The title track, Embers to Ashes, is that about a house fire?
Yeah. When I left to go to Nashville, I think I went right before the fires, then came back. I can't remember when the fires were there.
January of 2025.
Okay. So we had done one session. I'd come home for a while, and that's what happened. I was here. I live in Topanga now, and I could see the fires. I had a house burned in Agora in the Woolsey fire 5 years before that.
Oh, geez.
So, I was sitting here. I'm a bit of an art collector, and I could see the flames just over the hill. It's where the Palisades are from here. And a bunch of my friends in Nashville were like, "Get the fuck out of there! What are you doing?" And I just had this sense of like, the odds are. Yeah, I can't believe the universe is going to burn 2 of my houses in 5 years. I just can't. So I just was really, I'm not leaving. I'm not going nowhere. I also lived in Altadena after Laurel Canyon prior to living here in Topanga. And I looked up the house is the neighborhood where I lived, and I shit you not, every house was burned down but 3. And one of the ones that didn't burn was my old house.
Jesus.
And so like this weird...
Angels.
These signs of like things of like, yeah, your mindset is right because the way you thought about it was correct. Like I wasn't sitting here like daring something to happen. I'm just saying I can't believe the math doesn't math for me on certain shit. Right. So go with the math.
Right. Well, the song Embers to Ashes is a highlight of the album for me as well. Rubber Bullets, I love that song. Rubber Bullets feel exactly like the real ones. Commentary on social unrest, great song.
Yeah, well, Embers to Ashes is when we got back. One night I had, the odd part is usually before I start an album, I kind of already know what I'm going to call it. This one I had no idea what to call it because I didn't know what the experience was going to be, with Wolf and like just, how it was all going to go down. And again, during the second session, it just one night I was thinking about the fire and how it started and like our own personal fire. I wasn't even home. But it started with an ember getting caught up under the eaves. And I was like, Embers to Ashes, man. Fucking that only took like a little while. And I thinking in my mind, and then, but something, that line, bang, it had bold font all of a sudden in my mind, Embers to Ashes. And I was just like, I called Wolf and I was like, this is what we're going to call this album.
Right.
We didn't have a song yet though. And then again, my guy D-Ray, I just started talking about the fire, and we started piecing together the song Embers to Ashes. And it's a crazy, weird song because at the same time, we're like this, there's a line in it that says we went from drinking champagne and crystal glasses to drinking cheap whiskey out of plastic. That was just 5 of us in the kitchen. Had nothing to do with that song when we came up with that line, but it fit.
Right.
As we were making it, one of us threw it out there for a second, laughing, and we were all like, "Oh shit, it's you know what I mean?" So there was a lot of that.
Well, and now it's the album title, Embers to Ashes, out in late August. Also, the album cover is fantastic from Tristan Eaton, who you've worked with a lot. But the smoke coming out and the lettering of Embers to Ashes coming out of the smoke is really, really, really great.
Yeah, there's an actual video for Stones coming in a couple days. And then we're going to drop another little song pretty soon.
I'm really tough. I've been doing A&R for 35 years. I'm very tough on songs. I hate like 99% of everything I hear because my bar is so high. Stones, like I said, I think is one of the best songs I've heard this year. So well done.
There ain't nothing you can say. There ain't nothing you can do. God knows I know you're sick of me. Well, I'm sick of me too. Take a shot, but it won't hurt. Worse than what I've done to you. Ain't a stone that you can throw at me. I ain't already through. I ain't already through.
One last vignette before we close. You talk about angels. The fact that you have a tattoo of the day that you and Yellow Wolf were in Europe because you could have been at the Eagles of Death Metal show. I mean, that's the last thing I'd love for you to talk about.
Yeah. So what was it? 2015? something that's right here. I can't remember.
You got to look at the tattoo, right?
2015. The day before that, I played in a place called the C Club in Berlin. I just bought like a Leica camera before I left for the States, and I wanted to learn how to take real pictures, like not like everything auto. And so I was taking lots of pictures, and then we had a day off after the Berlin show, and we were going to head to Paris because our next show was not in Paris, but adjacent. And we were going to spend a day in Paris. My old tour manager was then, but he's still around. I just want to be clear about that in the story. Was named Sean London. He was Eagles of Death Metal front of house sound guy. I know if I would have been in Paris, I would have called Sean. I would have been at the show. You know what I mean? I also found out I knew a lot of the guys at the Deftones, that I know a couple of those guys. What happened was I think Wolf was at my show the night before in Berlin, and afterwards we talked. I was like, "Hey, what if I stuck around and could I shoot your show?" You know, and he was like, "Absolutely." So I changed my plans and I shot his show. And we hung out afterwards, and then we started getting all the word coming in about what had happened.
Right, that may have saved your life again.
Yeah, and during that night was the first night, we were sitting around drinking, and he said, "I'd love to produce a record on you." And this was, 10 years ago.
Right.
I was just kind of like, I thought he meant like a feature or a song or anything, but, when this whole idea of going to Nashville and cutting a record came back around, I was like, I wonder if he meant really produce a record.
And he did.
And I called him, and that he immediately was responsive. He was like, "I absolutely want to do it."
So now that the record's finished, did you enjoy the process of working with Wolf?
Oh yeah. I'd make another record with him easy.
Awesome. The new album, Embers to Ashes, is out August 28th on 30 Tigers, and it's really great. I can't wait for the world to hear it. I was lucky enough to get a sneak peek at it, but it's fantastic. Are you going to do dates to promote the album?
We got a few things in the works, some festival stuff towards the end of summer, but, we'll probably do some sneak around and pop-up acoustic-y thing. See how I feel. See if the old man's up for it.
Why not? Well, it was a pleasure talking to you, man. It's been a long time, and I appreciate it, and I love the new record and really appreciate your time. Eric Everlast, as our friend Carlos would say.
Appreciate it, man.
Take care. Thank you, man.
Take it slow.
I want that life, I want those cars, those LA nights, hanging with stars, to make $1 million making music, start a habit then abuse it. I want that love I know won't last, get to the top, spend all my cash, I'ma fuck it up bad, let's do it good, it's me and you, my Hollywood.
A big thank you to Everlast for joining us this week. Still evolving, still searching, and still making music that cuts straight to the core. From the explosive energy of House of Pain to the stripped-down honesty of his solo work, his career is a masterclass in reinvention, not by chasing trends, but by following instinct. And with his new album, Embers to Ashes, he's continuing that journey, reflecting on a life that's seen both extremes and turning it into something powerful and enduring. The album and its fantastic first single, Stones, are both highly recommended. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time for another episode of Rock and Roll High School.
Rock and Roll High School is a presentation of Pure Tone Music, produced by Pete Ganbarg with assistance from Steve Leeds, Joe Pomerico, Dana Stenson, Aaron Manuza, Christina Katsamanides, and Rich Mahan. Please visit our website at rockschoolpodcast.com for past episodes and information on what's coming next. All rights reserved.